I swear the UFC is becoming like boxing, you know, super corporate and super shady, doing things like boxing. I used to love boxing. I used to watch boxing all the time. But just after so many upsetting results, I kind of just switched over to UFC, mixed martial arts, because back in the day, it would always be the best fighters against the best fighters, which I guess pretty much still kind of happens. That's kind of going away a little bit because, these fighters they become champion, and before they become champion, they're like, yeah, I'm going to defend my belt as many times as I can every year, 3 times a year. It doesn't matter. All of a sudden they become champion and now they're injured. Oh, I'm injured. I can't fight. And, they forced the UFC's hand to, put on these interim belts. And people are pissed off about these interim belts as well. But it's just becoming so corrupt, and you can tell because the fighters are not happy. It's not like it was back in the day. Like the fighters are crying, oh, I want more money, they treat us like crap, blah blah blah. We can't have our, we can't get any kind of promotional we can't market for other companies and make more money, whereas like Bellator and all these other companies, fighting companies, it's still like it was in the UFC, where they can wear different promotional materials on their gear and make extra money and make a better living. And I think fighters are just unhappy. And I think the reason why is because the UFC is just, I think, has become more corrupt. I mean, like a lot of fights recently have just been controversial. Like really, like what fights are these judges watching? Like they're not watching the fights that everybody else is watching, or it's just more corrupt. There's too much money on this fighter, so if it's close, give it to this other fighter. Like, I don't know if that happens, but it's seemingly like that happens. And now what they're doing to Charles Oliveira, I feel like this whole thing was set up. I feel like this was all a plan from the very beginning. It's like, okay, what can we do? Let's mess with the scale, make Charles Oliveira off weight, and then strip him of the title, and then have him fight Makhachev in Abu Dhabi. And if he doesn't do it, then he loses. He doesn't even get a chance to fight for the belt. It almost feels like this was set up this way. It has all these names written all over it. Whenever all these involved with a fight, like the other fighter always has some kind of issue. Like I was feeling off during this fight. My arms were heavy. I was extra tired, blah, 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 one thing or another. It's always something. And now they want Charles to fight in Abu Dhabi, and against Islam Makhachev. Who knows what Ali's going to do? Who knows? I mean, I wouldn't put it past him doing very, very shady stuff. I mean, Conor McGregor, not that I'm the biggest fan of Conor McGregor, but he called him out for a lot of his shady past. So, can a tiger change his stripe? Can a, cheetah or whatever that has stripes change their stripes? I mean, it takes a lot of work, especially if you're making a lot of money. You're not going to change your stripes, and you're getting away with certain things. You're not going to change your stripes. So this just seems like a big setup from the very beginning. I feel like this is the reason why a lot of fighters are unhappy. All these weird, shady things going on. And, the UFC, they have shareholders now. They have to make money for their corporate sponsors, for, these companies. And it's like they feel like that's the way forward. That's what's going to make them a lot of money. But no, that's not the thing that's going to make them a lot of money. The thing that's going to make them a lot of money is fans. Okay, and if you're losing fans because these fights, these decisions are going the wrong way, or because you're screwing fighters over, you're stripping them of the belt, and now you're making them go into enemy territory. Who knows what they're going to do? There's some people who will stab their mother in the back for money. Okay, so who knows what people will do for their fighter to win, because when their fighter wins, they stand to make a lot of freaking money. When their fighter's champion, they stand to make a lot of money. So I think if what's going on, what I think is going on, I think the UFC is doing the wrong thing. I think they need to put more focus on their fighters. Yeah, you give fighters an inch and they'll take a mile, but at the same time, at least keep them happy. At least let them make a comfortable living. At least let them pay their bills, not having to work other jobs while they're fighting. When they're happy, a happy fighter is a fighting fighter, because a fighter's going to want to fight more when they're happy. Just like a happy employee is a hardworking employee. A happy fighter is a hardworking fighter. But when you do all these little shady things to screw the fighter over, then the fighters aren't happy. If fighters aren't happy, fighters aren't going to be a hardworking fighter. They're not going to fight. Fighters don't fight, nobody's going to watch. Who wants to watch if a fighter's unhappy? If you don't, back in the day, there was always like celebrity fighters. There was always like fighters that stood out, and they were outgoing, and they were just like wild and crazy, and they did crazy things, and people tuned in because they wanted to watch. But now that's not there anymore. As much. It's there a little bit, but it's not there as much anymore. Why? Because fighters are unhappy. Fighters are unhappy. If fighters are unhappy, boring fights. Look at the last Adesanya fight. Oh, I'm just going to do enough just to win. They're not going out there putting it all on the line. Why? Because the UFC is not focused on them. They're focused on the corporate sponsors, which doesn't make any sense. And I think it's going to turn out bad. I think people are going to turn away and go to other organizations. Look at BKFC. Everybody loves BKFC. Why? Bare Knuckle, man. It's still underground. It's still not underground. It's mainstream, but it's not like sold out to corporate yet. So it's still exciting. The fighters are still exciting. The fighters are happy. They could wear their sponsorships. They could make a lot of money. They get a big portion of the pie. And people tune in. People want to see that. And a lot of fighters are going to BKFC because BKFC is offering a lot of money to these fighters. Yeah, it sucks. You're freaking getting hit in the head with a bare fist, and your fists are probably taking a lot of damage too. But that's where fighters want to go. Fighters want to go where they're going to be happy, just like employees want to go where they want to be happy. And right now, it doesn't seem like UFC is a very happy place for the fighters. So, UFC, think about your fighters. Make them happy. Think about the viewership. Viewers want to see these fighters who are over the top, who want to fight, who are exciting. And you get fighters like that when you treat fighters well, when your fighters are happy. That's when you're going to get those fighters. You're going to get the exciting fights. But when you're just selling out to your corporate sponsors and whatever else, gentrification, you look at these neighborhoods and they what do? They take the soul out of everything. They go in there and the place is booming. It has soul. It has character. It has a lot of different characters of people. And they go in there and they remove all that. And they put everything nice and clean and nice and friendly. And, I'm not saying I want a crime-ridden area, but at the same time, it's like, don't take the soul out of these places. They think the place is booming. Yeah, because it has soul. But they take that out. And it's all clean and it's all gentrified and everything is without culture, without soul. That's exactly what's happening in the UFC. Gentrification. So anyway, yeah, it's horrible what they're doing to Charles Oliveira. It's like, this is how you turn fighters away. It's like, oh, you're over by 0.5 of a pound. Even though he said the night prior he was on weight the night prior. So all of a sudden, he's over by 0.5. And also that made me think like somebody messed with the scale because they wanted to mess with his head, and it didn't work. Like they wanted him to lose, but it didn't work. So now what? Now they strip him of the title, and they say, "Oh well, you have to fight over here in Abu Dhabi, in your enemy's hometown, in your enemy's territory." Okay, who knows what they're going to do to you? And if you don't even get to fight for the title. That's wrong. And I see it. A lot of people see it. The fighters see it. The fighters are just going to be like, "Oh, really? Oh, that's what you get? That's what you're going to do? You're already screwing us over, but now you're going to dictate, you know, uh, you're going to treat us like crap? Like a former champion who just destroyed all the lightweights, like all the top lightweights he just ran through, and you're just going to do him dirty like that? Like no loyalty to the fighters at all. That's zero loyalty. Like if you have loyalty, you will not do that. You're not gonna do the person dirty like that if you have loyalty to, your fighters who are winning nonstop, who are bringing in fans, who people want to watch, who are destroying all the top fighters, who puts butts in seats, who's making your company tons and tons of money. You're gonna do them dirty like that? That means zero loyalty, fighters. And fighters can see that. They're like, shit, I'm freaking on my own. Hey, the UFC ain't gonna help me. I'm on my own here. Fighters are gonna see that. New up and coming fighters. Fighters who have a lot of different options now. Do I go to UFC who has no loyalty to their fighters? Or do I go to Bellator? Do I go to BKFC? Do I go to, One Championship? Do I go to these different organizations that have loyalty to their fighters? That's all I'm saying. Have some loyalty. Loyalty. Give Charles what he wants. He doesn't want a lot. He's just asking to be respected. Like that's all he's asking for. He's just asking to be respected. He's asking for a little bit of loyalty. Give him the loyalty he deserves. Give him the respect he deserves. Because it's not looking good. Fighters are going to choose different organizations. Fighters are going to go elsewhere where there's loyalty, where they respect, where they're going to get respect. It's not like Charles is asking for, $1 billion, $5 million a fight. He's a good guy. He comes from, the favelas. He's humble and honest, hardworking. You're going to treat your honest workers without respect and without loyalty. They say you build the bed that you sleep in. Just don't come crying later on when no fighter wants to fight for you. Because that's what's going to happen. I could see the future. And I see the future and the UFC crying, how come we don't have no fighters? How come, they're all going to these different organizations? I'm telling you right now, you build your bed. Have some loyalty to your fighters. Have some respect for your fighters and the fans.